principles stay the same. Delivery methods, right, messaging, those things may change, but those basic core truths, and for men like you and I, those biblical truths, those, are eternal, right? So, how it gets delivered and all that is, it will change, but that's okay, right?
Yeah.
It needs to, right? Because it needs to be able to connect and be relevant and all the rest of that. And I was some of the notes from this book, just because I think what you were sharing with your son is certainly setting the right path. And obviously you have to have a relationship like that with them so they would be willing to listen, right? Because you and I know that people, they're always looking for those three things. Can this person help me? Can I trust this person? Does this person care about me? And so if you have that, then they're going to be willing to hear those. So this idea of this code of conduct is really what this gets after for us. And so like knights, back in the day, were expected to be loyal. They were expected to conduct themselves like a champion, right? So in every aspect, whether it's in combat or in social settings, it's supposed to exude, courage and valor. The idea of being expected to win the love of a woman, so they need to be romantic and chivalrous. And this is again because, from my perspective, first there was Adam, and that was great. He's doing his thing, and then God said, okay, well, he's only, I need to create something. So God created woman for Adam, created Eve for Adam.
Mm-hmm.
So what I wish I had written down to teach my son was that they should look at women as what they are, which is a gift from God, right, to us, right? So not to demean them, not to objectify them, or use them objectively. They are there as a gift and to be relished in that and honored in that sense, right? Because they're so very, very special.
Yeah.
So anyway, win the love of a woman, and then expected to practice generosity, right? So those are code of conduct for knights. And the biblical ideas call this are things like loyalty and humility, excellence, integrity, honesty, purity, servant leadership, kindness, self-discipline. Those ideas, and those are found in the Gospels, found in Scripture. So they're right there. And so what this gentleman did is he recognized, because his father was absent. I mean, he was in the house, but he was a drunkard, but he was not a participant in their raising. And he recognized at some point that what that meant. So he said about trying to do those things for his sons. And so they created some curriculum. And you mentioned the idea of critical thinking. I never wanted to teach any of my kids what to think.
Good.
But I wanted them to learn how to think for themselves, to how to look at something and take and question everything that I told them or somebody else told them, and compare that against their experiences and what they had learned from right and wrong. So yes, being able to teach somebody to be that way, I think is a great objective. Or there's a just cause, right? So it's not self-serving, right? So we look back at that thing. It's certainly benefiting them to be able to think that way.
Yeah.
Is there benefit to me too? Eventually, sort of, I suppose, because of a relationship or whatever. But critical thinking and then the idea to discern what's going on. Kipling had that poem, If.
Yeah.
About being a man. And if you can, keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, right? And it's very powerful. And so that has been something that has being able to think. So that's what we're after, right? And still with my adult children now, I don't try to sway them one way or the other. I'm not trying to sell them on anything, and we have different views on a number of things, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, I love them dearly. I always will, unconditionally. And this whole idea of this scripture piece to this, in scriptures, every son must be schooled in these critical areas. Number one, the will to obey, right? The will to obey God's will, right? That's the scriptural piece. But also, at work, the boss is the boss. And I mean, there's civil disturbance. I got all that, but you got to do the work. You can't just get by.
Yeah.
Also, a work to do. Right?
Mm.
What is their just cause? And it's going to be unique because it has to be unique to their own gift. Right? So it's going to be different for each one. But so as a dad, I have to support them in that, and then of course, a woman to love, so they can have fruitful relationships and be a part of things, and just have a companion in whatever context that ends up looking like. But the idea of how to be in healthy relationships, regardless of how it ever escalated or who the participants are. Is it a healthy relationship or is it not healthy? So obeying and working and being a good partner in a relationship.
Man, this is good. So first and foremost, I need to buy this book. I'm excited to read it. Like, seriously, I'm just being honest, because I think the joys of fatherhood are centered around your ability to teach and develop young children to be the best version of themselves. That's just what I believe. And so that entails that I have to do some things and do it correctly. And when you started talking about these different things, loyalty, chivalry, and things of that nature, I agree 100%. Because, like, they have to be able to see first loyalty in me being modeled. So if I can model loyalty, then they will understand loyalty from an experiential standpoint. And then later on, we can have more detailed conversation about what loyalty looks like. Chivalry is something that I love that because it just seems like it has changed over the years. At one point in time, like, I don't know what it is. Like, if I'm going to an establishment, I will not allow you to open the door. I'm going to open the door for you. If I'm with some male friends, it's like we're jousting to see who's going to open the door first.
Right.
Like, it becomes fun at a certain point. But mostly, I understand that chivalry does exist to a certain extent, but then there's some people who try to enforce what chivalry looks like. And I think that's the wrong side of it. Like, whatever chivalry looks like, just kind of lean into that and then just kind of see where you can expand. Today I may open an establishment door, tomorrow I may be opening a car door. So again, let that evolve within your space and then grow from there. Here's what I like. I like the fact that you address as a parent, we teach obedience, right? And I know there are going to be people who don't necessarily like that, but here's what I truly do believe. When I was younger, and I kind of got this way later, like it just made sense. When I was younger, I should have been skilled in the arts of the commandments, understanding what, quote unquote, we call the law, right? And we know them as the 10 Commandments, and every word that was actually addressed on how to live a good, godly life, right? So being able to obey, in other words, compliance to the law. Well, when we move over into the new agreement is all about commitment. So in order for me to commit, I need to first comply. So if I can comply, if I have the ability to comply with the law, then I can later learn how to commit, and commitment at that particular point in time becomes more honorable. Why? Because I already have compliance in me. So whatever I choose to commit to, then I will obey what I've agreed to do. And I think that's kind of like what, the thing that was the light bulb moment for me. Like, oh man, this makes so much sense. Why didn't I ever get this before? Well, because nobody ever sat down and talked to you about it like that. Okay, fair enough. Now I got it. Going back to the idea of woman that you mentioned, I love that because we're equals. That's one of the first and most important things that we need to understand. From a carnal perspective, we are equal, man and woman. But from accountability measures, I'm accountable to a higher authority for the well-being and upbringing of this family. And I think when we posture it that way, it makes better sense. It doesn't offend anybody. Everybody's inclusive, right? Like, you don't necessarily want to carry the accountability measures that I have. I promise. You know what I'm saying? I would gladly give it to you if I could, but I can't. So we are equals. We are partners in this. In fact, we are a team. And I would tell you, just like we're doing now, taking vision and talking about fatherhood and the household and raising children, I do that with team as well. So under the idea of team development, right, that's what husband and wife is. First in the beginning, there's a lot of anxiety when they meet one another.
The very first team that ever existed was a team of two.
There you go. Absolutely. And somehow, at least for me, somehow I didn't get that. I didn't understand what the team dynamics were supposed to be. In the beginning, the forming stage, there's some anxiety that exists between both of us. We're trying to figure out where we fit within this scheme of joint existence. And then, later on, we'll go through some storming. We have the battle of two different cultures coming together, right? The key word being coat. So the battle of two different coats, your upbringing versus my upbringing. And then we realize that it's not a versus thing, it's a combination thing. So we take the best of both worlds, and that becomes our environment. Then once we do that, then we get to we get to the Norman stage. And then the Norman stage, we start operating, and I talked about this, I think yesterday actually, we start operating as a fine or well-oiled machine to where the spirit of reciprocity exists. So I look for me, just like I was talking about open the door a few minutes ago. I seek to do things that are pleasing to her. She seeks to do things that are pleasing to me. And then we have this beautiful orchestra of selflessness that exists in space. And then we get to the performance stage. And the performance stage is where I understand where she's great at. Why? Because the Bible says to get along with your spouse according to knowledge, right? Husbands, get along with your wives according to knowledge. So I've studied her, I've watched her, I've learned, and things of that nature. So now what I get to do is I get to set her up for success by saying, hey, you can do this. And then once it's a little bit outside of her comfort zone, it's okay. Just do it anyway, and I'm gonna support you along the way. And now what we're doing is we're breaking through barriers, comfort zone, getting outside your comfort zone, right? And then now she's experiencing new levels of greatness. And all of that was made possible because we figured out how the team was supposed to work. So man, this is good because the team exists for the development of the child. If the team is not intact, if we're not working together, the child suffers. The child has psychological trauma. The child has emotional, trauma as well. Like, it's a lot of things that, and those things that at that particular point in time that they do not resonate with, they do not harmonize with, those things lead into a unhealthy, well, I want to say not an unhealthy adult, but an adult who has struggled with having healthy relationships.
Yeah, I agree 100%. 100%. And there's ways to get out of that, but if you can, as a parent, if you can equip your children to hopefully avoid all of that, right? Yeah. Then you don't have to deal with the rest of it. I mean, that's how that goes. This is, as always, Dwayne. I mean, you and I have had such great conversations over the years. Absolutely enjoy it.
Yeah, same here. And so the other part that I didn't share with everybody else that I share now. So Shawn, he is a mentor to me. Like, I always, just like I was doing earlier, I'm always taking notes when we're talking because I always get something from him. Periodically, I can catch him and pin him in the corner and start asking him a few questions, right? Because that's where I think I can get the most out of him. So I just get to asking him questions and just bombarding him with curiosity. And, he never disappoints in his responses. So,
I would counter that. I have learned so much from Dwayne. So we both benefited and contributed, I think, in the relationship.
Absolutely. So this is kind of like one of my favorite parts, but it's also bittersweet because it signifies coming to the end. So with that being said, sir, what would be your last and final thoughts that you would like to leave with everybody based upon this conversation?
Really, to be deliberate, be intentional with your life. It's been said, if you, leave your destiny up to somebody else, well, somebody else is going to write your destiny. You go out there and whether it's, just being deliberate with your routines, but deliberate with, what you do. Don't just be willy-nilly in life. All right? Have a just cause. Think through that. Imagine what it would be like to achieve things that you want to achieve. Live like you want to live. Develop a plan to get there, and then be disciplined to stick to that plan. Watch out for those distractions, but stick with the plan.
Absolutely. I love it. Again, as always, wise words coming from Shawn Perry. For those people who want to follow you, because he does a lot of great things in Alabama. I know he is correct me if I'm wrong, you're like the vice president of help me out, in your chapter.
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
I I say pretty busy, right, with things, which is something I'm reevaluating. As I look at my just cause here, do I need to reprioritize some things? But I'm involved in both the First Cavalry Division Association, and we're creating a chapter here in Huntsville for all my First Cav vets. I'm the chapter chaplain for the Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association, Chapter 28-2 here in North Alabama. I've got a small business, Value Leadership Solutions, and we've got this website still under construction, but we're getting to that one. But I'm out and around, right? So through Dwayne or somewhere, I'm out there.
Awesome. So again, he's a very busy man. I know it from personal experience. But listen, wherever he goes, he adds value. So if you need Shawn Perry to come and help your organization out, I'm almost certain he does work in the digital space as well. It's not just local, not just in the local Huntsville area. But if you need him to come and do some work for you, as far as team development, he's an awesome team coach. He is a phenomenal leadership development coach. And he does just a whole bunch of selfless service, as he just heard. So if you want to connect with him from the aspect of, the First Cavalry Division Association, whether you need him to come and do public speaking engagements for you, I'm almost certain that he will find a way to put you on his schedule.
So I talk about being, a business owner. That's our mission statement. That is our just cause. It says that every day we add value to leaders to multiply value to us. Right? So that idea of helping, right? Of promoting and empowering is what we're all about.
I love it.
Yeah, so jshawn.perry@gmail. jshawn.perry@gmail.
There you go. He was reading my mind.
Give me a note.
So now he was my, rear detachment commander in the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment, whether he was my project manager when we worked together or just as a friend. I mean, he has never disappointed, and I'm almost certain he won't disappoint you. That being said, Shawn, thank you for your presence. Thank you for the energy and efforts and all that you're doing. I'm sure that Boone is going to reap the benefits of all this great information that you're learning. And again, kudos to you and Dina for the work that you guys are doing with this book, Raising a Modern Day Knight by Robert Lewis. Go out and buy it. I think every man needs to understand how to raise a modern day knight. So again, Mr. Perry, thank you for your presence. Thank you for all that you do. And thank you for blessing us with your presence here in Empower Perspective.
Yes, sir. Thank you.